Brandon, thanks for joining us here on the Cassius Morris Show, folks. We're very excited to be on location for an interview at the Shaw Conference Center with Monster Truck, and we're joined here with...
This is Jeremy, and I play guitar.
And I'm Brandon, and I play keyboards.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. So first of all, how's the tour been going so far?
Early on the tour. I think this is only the third show, but it's kind of a repeat of the tour we just did in Europe. Same bands, same vibe, a lot of friends, and the same, basically close to the same size rooms. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Awesome. I heard you guys hit West Edmonton Mall, actually, today. Is that right?
You didn't go, did you?
I didn't go.
No.
Okay, but you guys have been there before?
We've been there before, but we didn't know... I guess we did know, but I didn't really think about it, that it was family day. Mm-hmm. And so I got there hungover in the morning and realized that I was not the place I wanted to be at all. And then I kind of wandered around until I realized that I had to leave, which wasn't that long after that. Yeah. But actually watched a couple of cool Pee-wee hockey games in the rink in the middle.
Nice.
Which was fun. And and then just got the hell out of there.
All right, fair enough. That's usually the feeling you want to have when you're in there for too long. It's like a prison cell.
Yeah, time to go.
Yeah, so talk to me about hockey, by the way, because I heard that you were involved with hockey for a good portion of your life.
Actually, well, here, you should do this one.
Okay. I was involved in hockey since I was a kid. My dad is pretty obsessed with many sports, hockey being a big one. So I played since I was 5 years old. Nice. Played really high level. Quit when I was 12 and then started playing again in high school. Cool. And then kind of always been attached. Jared is the one who's, as of late, has been into it a lot more.
So this is a late development in your life?
Yeah, well, I wasn't allowed to play hockey when I was a kid. My mom kind of kiboshed the whole idea really early on, which is probably for the best because I'm kind of a nutter about it now, and I think it might have been a dangerous. If I would have gotten tied up in it early, I might have stuck with it all the way until I got injured probably. Yeah. So I went on a different path. My mom was into music and she taught me how to play the guitar when I was finishing up elementary school. Mm-hmm. And then now that when I got to about 30 years old, I started thinking about that I wanted to get involved with it, and my skating was pretty strong, and so I've been playing for 3 years now, and so it was a rough the first year was kind of rough, but I've got the hang of it now, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. So you mentioned the music you started playing when you were 11. How old were you when you started playing?
I think I was 12. I think it was about grade 7. I used to rent the bass and the amp out from music class or sign it out, take it home on the bus. And the trick was to do it on Friday afternoons because then I get it all weekend. And then me and my friends we had a little band and we would basically just play Nirvana covers. So I think I was about 12.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Pretty early ages. Now, did your parents have a problem with this kind of loud music at that time?
My mom had more, because I was into hip hop early on, because it was kind of none of my friends were into grunge music, and grunge music hadn't really hit the scene yet when I was in grade 6. Mm-hmm. So I was getting kind of pushed into the Criss Cross, Vanilla Ice, CNC Music Factory kind of vibe, and I distinctly remember playing Big Butts. What was that? Sort of Mix a Lot, Big Butts. Right. And my mom really just thinking that was the worst thing ever. And then I remember slowly being I don't really like this music that much. And then Soundgarden, Nirvana, Pearl Jam happened, and I was oh, okay, never mind. And
Would you say those are your biggest musical influences, or some of them?
At that time, I mean, they were my biggest jump off points for wanting to play music, because before the hip hop phase I'd been listening to a lot of classic rock from my dad, and so when I went through all these different phases, grunge music was the first kind of music that felt like I could be a part of it, where I could I wanted to play it. I wanted to pick up a guitar, and I felt like it was something that I could be, like I said, I could be a part of. Whereas, listening to Led Zeppelin, there's a big detachment there when you're 10 years old, and that music happened 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Not feeling like you're really it, you like it, but you don't feel like it's part of your culture. So it was a weird kind of transitional phase, going through all those different things, and then finally landing with grunge and alternative.
It was like Nirvana and stuff, because that was you had friends who were taking guitar lessons, and it was easy to play. If you could play a power chord, you could play.
You're pretty much there, yeah.
Yeah, and even easier on the bass, you just could hold down that one note, and but then we had a punk scene where I came from. So about 14, 15 years old was when all those Epitaph records, Fat Records, all that kind of shit came around, and then we And, we just imitated that. Like, I mean, I guess Green Day was the catalyst. We used to think that we didn't sell out and all that stuff, but it was like we were just emulating what all that American punk scene was doing, putting on like shows in church basements, and the Polish Hall was a big venue in Burlington.
Okay.
But yeah, that punk rock thing came along, and then some people got into hardcore, and then some people got into metal and stuff like that, and it kind of just grew from there. But it was really organic, of like, kids just doing it and then like just figuring it out. So, by the time it was kind of 2021, like everyone kind of was playing it pretty intensively, and there were bands from our scene that had toured America a lot, and that really raised the bar as far as the caliber of bands that were coming out of our town. And it carried on. Like even Billy Talent came out of that, and Alexis on Fire and stuff like that. Those are all a product of the scene that was created. And it just really raised the caliber and the skill level. So I kind of just followed through that. I got into the Beatles and the Stones and Bob Dylan and all that old stuff like end of high school, but it kind of like coincided and overlapped with the punk kind of scene going on. So I kind of just have always been, open to all different kinds of music, and I'm still an adventurer, still getting into new stuff all the time, and
that's awesome.
I love it all, I think. Yeah.
That's very good. It's cool and it's interesting that you guys talk about how punk was kind of you guys' earliest inspirations and kind of what made you want to do it. When you guys are often, kind of, and I don't know how you feel about this, I guess I'll ask, how do you feel about being kind of classified as a blues rock kind of group in certain circles?
It's all good with me. I think one of the most interesting aspects of the band that I've found, especially when we were starting out early on, is that everyone would come up to us and say that that we sounded like a different band. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, you'd have like the obvious comparisons where, you guys kind of sound like Sabbath, you sound like Led Zeppelin, and sound like Grand Funk Railroad.
Good company.
Yeah, of course. But it seemed like everyone was saying what their favorite band was back then, or growing up, or whatever it was. Yeah. And so it was interesting to me that we'd found a way to kind of encapsulate all these different groups into one, and like add in, of course, a little bit of the grunge vibe and a little bit of the punk rock vibe and a little bit of the metal vibe. Yeah. And make it like, and it's not like we're reinventing the wheel, but I do think we have at least some kind of distinct sound that makes us, who we are, and everyone kind of finds something else to pull from to associate with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me about winning you guys' first Juno Award. 2013 Breakout Group of the Year. You guys are nominated again for Sittin' Heavy for Rock Album of the Year. Congratulations for that, first
Thanks.
off. What was it like winning that award?
It was perfect timing. Okay. It was winning the Breakthrough Group of the Year when we hadn't released a full length yet. And it was really shocking because Walk Off the Earth was in the category with us, and they had already had like a massive year, and they had done that 4 people playing one guitar video, and I really thought they were going to win. I think we all thought that they were going to win, and we were just kind of there to take in the scenes and the sights, and then we ended up winning, and it was really fun for our friends and family back home watching television, because we were on the broadcast, and you've got all these people that have been supporting the group for so long, and they're so kind of emotionally attached to the members of the band, and like the efforts that they've all put in differently to kind of help us get through tough times, or get the exposure that we got early on. And so to have that kind of, it was a victory for not just us. It turned out to be a bigger victory for our family, our friends, and everyone back home.
Well, the other thing about that is that Juno Awards happened pretty much about 1 month before Furiosity came out. So
first record, right?
That's when they're kind of ramping up the marketing campaign, and we were just coming off the back of having some radio success with 2 songs from our EP, the Brown EP.
Right.
So it really segued perfectly, and it just kind of cranked up the whole awareness of the band leading into that first full-length record. So it just basically, if we weren't already on the radar of people in Canada who are listening to rock or into the rock scene, that definitely established us in that regard. So it really helped in that. And, then that helped get us booked more, helped get us better tours, and it just basically kind of vaulted the band up to the next level. And we took it and ran with it, and Yeah, it definitely made a huge difference. It was
I can imagine.
Perfect timing, like Jer said.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. You guys were very lucky. You guys got a huge amount of radio play, especially in Canada. How did it feel when that first started ramping up and like you're going to your rock station, you guys hear yourselves on the bumpers? That must be just incredible.
I distinctly remember hearing the song on the radio for the first time where I didn't know it was going to be on. Because like when you're starting out in a band, you'll get on like a special on the indie show, or like you'll know you've got some feature coming up, or like every spin that you get is like you're very aware that it's about to be spun.
Yeah.
And then I remember that I had heard that we'd gotten into rotation, where it's just like it's in the playlist, it's going to get played. And I had like people, like, hey man, I heard you guys on the radio, and I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. And then I remember I was driving the band van down like one of the main streets in our city of the Hamilton, and all of a sudden Seven Seas Blues came on the radio on Edge, and I was just like, it was like the sun was shining, like I was like in a great mood, and then the song came on the radio, and I was just like, it was like one of those perfect moments where I was just like, it's like kind of lucky I didn't get in an accident, because I was like so like, holy fuck, yes.
It's like a rock and roll movie.
And I thought it sounded awesome. And I it was cool because like I've been in other bands where it didn't sound awesome, where like I heard my band on the radio and I'm like, didn't measure up with everything else that was on the station. So I was like, oh cool, we're on the radio, but like I felt like we weren't there yet. So this was like one of those things where like it sounded good, it felt good, I didn't know it was going to be there, and it was just everything came together.
Yeah, absolutely. And yourself?
Well, I used to work at a steel fabrication shop, and they always, like very many shops around the world, in Canada specifically, they listen to the rock radio station.
Yeah.
So they always listen to Y108, which is our Hamilton rock station, and so I think they put into rotation fairly early on. So they would start playing it, and I would be working in the office. And the guys would come in and be like, your song is on. And I'd be like, whoa, cool. And then it kept happening. And then I started being like, well, what the hell is going on? Why the hell am I still working here if my song is getting played all the time on the radio?
Yeah.
So
because you're probably thinking, if I'm on the radio, I might not need to work at a certain point.
It was funny. It was kind of like, it was a really positive and great that it was coming on, but then it was also like, well, what the hell? When your song's on the radio, aren't you supposed to be like, a rock star or something like that? And but I guess that is the modern day version,
right?
And you find out that your royalties for radio come to you like 8 months after the fact too. So like even when that initial boom happens, you've still got like almost a year to wait before you start getting royalty checks. So
you got some time.
It was a fun learning curve, and now it's turned into a thing where I'm still excited to hear us on the radio.
Awesome.
And every time we put out a new single, I'm always waiting to hear it and see how it stacks up.
I love it. Closing off, talk to me about touring with Nickelback, because you guys did that. What do they like to tour with? Any idiosyncrasies that the fans might not know about them on tour?
I mean, it's funny because there's nothing that's too exciting. It's like those guys have been doing this for such a long time, and they're so settled into the groove of things.
Yeah.
They've got their family out with them. They're super approachable. They were super supportive to us. And it's not just the band, because when you get into a situation like that with us, where we're touring with them for like an extended period of time like that, you get to know every single member of the crew. We actually spend more time with the crew than with the band, because the band just kind of shows up for sound check, and they're just in and out a lot of times.
Yeah, makes sense.
We get to see them too after the show and stuff, but we ended up getting to know all the crew members. And like the one thing that is really obvious and apparent with them is that every single person in their crew and entourage is awesome.
Right.
And it's just like a testament to like how many years they've been in the business, how much they've learned, how big they've gotten, and how they've kind of made it a mandate to have these great human beings out with them all the time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was something that we all recognized really early on, and it was something we were really appreciative of, because it was a huge help to us to have all these people that were really kind and kind of willing to help us out, because we're running a lot of times with only one or two crew members, and every little extra hand that we can get is a huge help to us.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is like, in very much related to bringing those kinds of people out and having those sort of attitudes, is they just treated us better than any other band we'd ever been out of.
Yeah.
Like, it probably helps that they've made a lot more money than probably most of the other bands that we've been out with. But, they would, ship our gear around for us and, like, get us in on all their catering and, like, take us out after the show, like, just treating us like above and beyond anything we'd ever experienced or expected. So it was a privilege for sure to experience that and to be taken care of like that.
Right.
And that being said, we've been really lucky over the course of our career of opening for all these different bands that we've opened for, and that to say that they're the nicest ones is really saying a lot, because we've with the Billy Talent guys or with Alice in Chains, like, everyone's been, you would expect you'd have some rock star attitudes at some point, especially when all these bands you're playing with that you don't know beforehand. But we've been super lucky and always had great tour packages and always had a lot of support around us. And this was just, the icing on the cake at the end of last year.
Awesome. That's great. So what's next for Monster Truck? New record sometime soon?
In the grand scheme of things, no, but at the same time, yes, because for us to have a record come out a year from now, we've got to be working on it now.
Yeah.
So we've started, fleshing out demos and ideas and songs for the new record. We've got a European tour coming up immediately after this tour, where we're going to test a lot of the markets out that we've done previously on opening slots. We're going in now to do the headlining versions of these shows in the smaller rooms, and a lot of the shows are doing well and selling out and everything. So it's actually showing some positive returns on all the investment that we've made with all these other tours that we've done. And then we've got some stuff we can't really talk about, which is going to be cool to announce soon. And just more work on more songs and getting ready for the new record.
Awesome. Sounds great. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. Rock on.